Hi, it's Lucy, and today I'm here to do my December wrap-up. It's a little bit late, but it's still January, still the month after December, so it's fine. I had so many videos to wrap up 2019 that I wanted to do, so I just pushed this back. I think I still have one more. I'm not sure what order this is going up in, but yeah, let's just talk about December. So in the month of December, I read 6 books, which was one of my lowest reading months of the year, but I think I talked about it in one of my stats videos or one of those like wrap-up videos that I did. I was just not feeling December reading, so it is what it is. I did take part in 2 readathons. I tried to take part in the Winter Magical Readathon and the Bookie Trials Winter Edition. I think that's what it's called. I failed both of them miserably. The Bookie Trials, I don't remember how many challenges there were. I finished 1 book during it, and I needed to finish 3 books. So yeah. And the Winter Magical Readathon, I got up to like week 3, I think, but I was still reading a book from week 1, and then week 4 came, and I was like, it's not happening. I don't really feel like doing this anymore, but it was a fun readathon to take part in. It was just because I wasn't really feeling reading at all, so I just let that go. Yeah, but I took part in them, and that is enough for me to say I took part in 12 readathons in 2019. Also in December, I did the 12 Days of Lucy Reads, which is where I try and put up a video for the last 12 days of December. I ended up putting up 9 videos, and like I said, the rest of the wrap-up videos that I was doing have been coming out in January, but the 9 videos are in a playlist. I might make another playlist that's like 2019 wrap-up videos or something like that, so that will also be linked down below. Also in the description box, you should definitely check out the description box, especially in my wrap-ups, because they're always full of stuff. I will have timestamps for each of the books that I will be talking about, as well as book depository links if you decide you want to buy them. Those are affiliate links, which means I get a little bit of the money that you would spend on the book they give to me. I think that's it for the intro. Let's get into the books. And like always, I talk about books in the order that I finished them. The first book that I finished is A Blade So Black by L.L. Mckinney. This is an urban fantasy Alice in Wonderland retelling, where we follow Alice, a teenage girl who's charged with battling the nightmares that come from Wonderland into our world. And while she's doing this, she has to balance her regular real life, such as her now slipping grades, a high-maintenance best friend, and a very protective mom. However, the balance scales start to tip when something happens to her mentor, and it's up to her to figure out how to save him. I was so invested while reading this. I loved the like little callbacks to Alice in Wonderland, just like various character names and things like that. I thought were super fun. And I've also heard this compared to Buffy. I can't speak to that, but just the whole premise of someone who's like the sole protector. I mean, she's not the sole protector. There are other characters who also have the same abilities as her, but they live in other parts of the world, which I also really liked about the story, because that is something that I also think about. I'm like, only one person has these powers and then they protect the whole world? That sounds like a lot. So yeah, I like that part of the story also. But yeah, I can't speak to the Buffy comparisons because I've only seen like maybe a few episodes, and they were just me being in the living room while my sister was watching them. So I was super interested in all the intricacies of Wonderland and like the politics that they have over there, and I thought that was really interesting. Also, if you've ever read a YA book and wondered where the heck are your parents, you will not be thinking that while reading this book. I actually loved Alice's mom, even though her protectiveness is one of the biggest conflicts in the book, other than the like evil thing that's going on. I thought it was realistic. It made sense. Alice's mom doesn't know what she's doing, where she's going. All she knows is that her daughter has started coming home late and not telling her where she is and lying about things. So it makes sense that her mom reacts the way that she does, and I thought that was done really well. And you can see how much Alice's mom loves her, and you can see how much Alice loves her mom and how they've grown closer. And there's also a bit of an examination of grief in here because Alice's dad passed away, and you can see how that has affected their relationship. The only other thing I wasn't a huge fan of is Alice's friend. I did not like the way that she acted towards Alice, and I didn't like the way that they resolved their conflict, because I don't think it was fair, but I don't want to give it away. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book, and I look forward to reading the second book, and I gave this 4 stars. The Magicians by Lev Grossman. This follows Quentin, who finds out that he's a magician, and so he starts to go to college for magicians and learn about magic. And then other stuff happens. If you want to hear more about my opinions on this book, you can check out my worst books of 2019 video, because I talk a lot about it in there. I talked about it a lot in the reading vlog where I read this. It was like my Christmas Vlogmas style reading vlog, or whatever I called it. I don't really want to talk about it anymore because I didn't like it. It was bad. The biggest main problems were the misogyny that the main character exhibited, and it was never called out by anyone. He was just right all the time, and how long and pointless this book ended up being to me. Deviate by Jay Kristoff. This is the second book in the Lifelike series. The series is set in a futuristic dystopian world where basically the country has been taken over by two big corporation. One corporation focuses on biological technology and the other corporation focuses on technical technology like robots. And the majority of the country kind of lives in like a wasteland. It's every person for themselves. When we meet our main character in the first book, they're doing like this big robot fight thing. The catalyst for the first book is that Eve, the main character, finds the body of a supposedly defunct type of robot, and then she has to go on the run. And she goes on the run with her two friends, Lemon Fresh and her robot thing. It's called a Logica, called Cricket. And this book follows more so Lemon Fresh. We still get some perspectives from the other characters, but it's really Lemon Fresh's story, which was my first, I wouldn't say it's an issue, but I wasn't expecting to change protagonists. So that was weird for me. I didn't love that. And especially after the events of the first book, I would have really liked to see more of Eve. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I didn't have a lot of huge feelings either way, but I did enjoy the story and I do want to see how it all ends. I did think there was something in here that felt a little cliche, but then it got kind of turned around, so I'm okay with it. And yeah, although I don't know how okay with it is. It's sort of going by the way of X-Men. I think it's reminding me of Shatter Me. Yeah, there's that. But I will continue in the series. There's only one book left. It comes out this year, so I will be reading that book. Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan Maguire. I gave this book 3.5 stars. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series, which if you've been on BookTube for like longer than like 20 minutes, you've probably heard about. It basically follows kids who come back from Portal World. Think Narnia, some other portal world I can't think of right now. But basically it's a world parallel to our world, but different. And basically these worlds are perfect for these children, but then something happens where they get kind of kicked out or they have to leave that world and come back to the real world. And so when they come back, they are very distraught. And in the first book, we see those kids at a particular school called the Home for Wayward Children. Their parents think they're sending them to like a therapy school, but really it's just so they can commiserate with other people who aren't in their worlds. And so in that book, we meet two girls, and in this book, we follow the girls before the events of the first book. This is a pretty short book, so I won't say too much. It's less than 200 pages, which is why I read it in the second to last day of 2019, because I needed those books read to get to 100. But anyway, so I won't say too much. I liked it and I will continue on in the series just because I think the whole idea of it is really fascinating. I did like this less than the first book. I gave this 3.5 stars, which I think I already said. I thought it was well written and interesting, and I like the eerie tone that it gives. But the main reason I didn't give it the full 4 stars is because the story is supposed to be about what happens when you force children to be in a strict mold and force them to have strict roles. And it's kind of about gender roles, sort of. But I think the book gives into the idea that being girly is bad. If you've read the story, I feel like you should know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, if you read it, we can talk about it in the comments. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that, and I don't know how I feel about it. So yeah, I thought it was well written and I enjoyed the process, but the ending left a bad taste in my mouth, I think. Full Disclosure by Camryn Garett. I received an ARC from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review, so thank you so much to the publisher for sending me a free copy. This is about Simone Garcia Hampton, who was born HIV positive. We follow her after she switched schools due to an incident at her former school, but now she's the director of her school play. She's forming some lasting and beautiful friendships. She has a crush on a guy and she's working on figuring out what to do with that. However, things are starting to take a turn when Simone gets a note saying that someone knows her secret and that if she doesn't stop seeing her crush, then they will expose her to the whole school. My Goodreads review is pretty long, so if you want more details on anything, you should check that out. I will leave it linked down below along with the other links. The writing was simplistic and awkward at times, but I still really enjoyed the story. Learning about Simone's HIV was definitely interesting, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I think it would be informative for others who are probably not very familiar with HIV. Simone is adopted and has 2 supportive dads, which I loved seeing. She also has a supportive and loving friend group, which I loved seeing, and I loved that they had like important conversations about things that we don't talk about, the fact that teenagers need to talk about them, like masturbation, like what sex is like other stuff that doesn't have to do with sex, but I can't really think of right now. But they had very open and honest conversation. But that is kind of where I think the writing took a dive. Most of those conversations felt like PSAs to me, and they felt unnatural and stilted, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I also didn't like the conflict that was introduced with Simone and her friends. I thought it was kind of rushed over, and you as the reader don't really get an idea of why they're even fighting until the end, and it just didn't seem like it was as big of a deal. Simone never acted like it was a big deal, but the story did, if that makes sense. Like the story made it seem like affecting her more than we actually got to see it affect her, if that makes sense. I also wasn't a huge fan of how Simone dealt with the blackmailer, the person leaving her notes, saying that she has to stay with her crush or else they're gonna reveal that she has HIV. That I didn't like how Simone dealt with that, but I do believe that any teenager would do that, so I can't be too mad at that. And overall, I'm glad that this book is out there for teenager. As the book mentions, HIV is still heavily stigmatized, and I'm glad to see books working against that. And the last book that I read in 2019 was Paper Girls Volume 4. Like I said, I was trying to hit that 100-book goal, and this is a graphic novel, and I read it in under an hour. This is Volume 4 in Paper Girls. I can't really say that much because it is the 4th volume. I think there are 5 or 6 volumes, so I'm almost done. This is written by Brian K. Vaughan with illustrations by Cliff Chang, and this follows a group of girls who get caught up in this sci-fi time travel mystery thing, and that's all I can really tell you. I like this volume. I liked where it's going. I think it's the first 2 volumes are very confusing, and then the 3rd volume you kind of get more answers, and this one you get even more answers. So I liked it. I think that it will wrap up. And these are short to read, so I don't see any reason not to continue on in the series. And I think I gave this 4 stars. These are all the books that I read in December. I have a headache right now because I think I need to eat. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. In the comments down below, let me know what you read in December. If you have any opinions about any of the books that I read in December, tell me how your December was. Just tell me things in the comments. I will see you in my next video. Bye.